But the reason I bring this up and talk about it here is it made me think back to when I was really struggling with the shame and the guilt and the stories that were running through my head of I was, a terrible person for having this abortion. And, what was I even thinking about getting into a relationship, an abusive relationship? And the shame and the guilt that was all mixed through that time of my life. And those negative energies that I held in and I silenced. Because let's be honest here. And what's going on with my voice? As women, what were we? We were taught not to talk about the hard stuff. We were taught not to talk about the ugly stuff of abortion and what it can do to you afterwards. And that guilt and that shame and that grief of loss, because it is a loss, and how to move through that. And I can say the same for, being in an abusive relationship of the guilt, the shame, the silence. And it was grief. There was a lot of grief around both of those things. And I had to move through those. I had to allow myself to heal. I had held those things in for so long, so long, that it affected my health. So when we silence ourselves, we hold back, we don't allow ourselves to heal, or we don't know how to let ourselves heal because we can't see that within ourselves, what's happening to us, because we're so deep in the stuff. And at some point throughout my life, I started wondering what was going on with me. Why was my life so difficult? And why was I, let's say, lonely? And because I was pushing people away, because people would hurt me, so I would push them away. Not everyone is going to hurt another person. And I know that in my heart, I know that. I happen to have partnered with some very poor choices of men. They were going through their own stuff. I was deep in my stuff, and it was not a good moment in my life. And you may be experiencing or have had those experiences yourself, but yet you may find yourself being silent, holding all that grief, that shame, that guilt of why did I do those things inside you? And then those stories start to replay on repeat in our head. And it can cause illness. It can cause gut problems, digestive problems, hip. For me, I had a lot of hip pain. I was all those stories, that grief, those energies, I was holding right in my hip. And I went to chiropractors. I went for massages. I went for acupuncture, and nothing was really relieving it until I started to let myself heal. And how I did that was, first, I started talking to another healer, and she called a lot of stuff out on me. She's like, "Hey, Terry, why are you holding on to this guilt? Why are you putting yourself in this box and not allowing yourself out? You want out. Now let's get you out of that box." And that was the start of everything. Really, the start was the abortion recovery program that I went through. And then it made me curious about what else was going on with me. And it wasn't like I finished the recovery program and then I was super curious and then I went straight into another healing modality. I had to let that abortion recovery healing process really move through me and out of me. I'm not holding on to that pain, that grief. The memories, yes, but not everything else. I wasn't silent anymore. I talked about it. I talk about it here.